This Sagittarius full moon is a deep breath. It's a deep inhale of summing up all the meaning and all of the experiences and just kind of gathering it all together and having a round table with the questions in your heart and the ones you've been working on. And for asking yourself the question, what if things go well, right? So oftentimes when we come to these moments of full moons, which are natural crisis points, which is to say they are turning points, they are a culmination, but a culmination is not always a win or a loss. It's that moment where we cannot put anything more into it, right? There's a natural pause. There's a natural moment at the end of the inhale, and then we exhale, right? It is a balance point between pushing into the world and receiving and taking responsibility and holding what's happening. So this Sagittarius full moon is this question mark that is asking kind of where we are. And it's really looking more at the successes than the failures. And that is because the ruler of the Sagittarius full moon is Jupiter, and Jupiter is conjoining Venus and Venus's sign of Taurus, right? We are looking for the moment of gratitude. And that feels a little bit cliche and banal at this point, right? We all know that being grateful helps. So here's really the thing to do, right? It's so easy to get to a point where we feel like we've put stuff in and we still haven't won. We still haven't finished, right? We're still not done. The mutable sign, the predominantly mutable, right? This is a lifelong experience of like, okay, we're not done. It just keeps moving forward. The ball keeps moving. Can only think with my hair up. One really great way to do this and to think about this is to contain it by thinking of, okay, what has happened in the last 6 months since the Sagittarius new moon back in December, right? What has happened in that period? And what has gone really well? What have you been doing that you want to keep doing? What's going well in your life that you want to keep doing? Okay. And then, right, then we ask, what feels ripe for change? What feels ready for you to change what you are doing? And finally, the third one is, what is not happening that would be helpful and more supportive if it were happening? And these are all things in your control, right? So keep, change, add. It's a great way to get your mind working in the kind of positive. I should know because I have Saturn in the first, and I am the first to be like, "Ah, none of these things are working." Anyway, that is a great piece for full moons in general. But this one too, because the sun is in Gemini, it is digging through all of the data and all of the social material, right? It is returning to this place, Gemini, which has been a little bit of a complicated place for the last half a decade. Because in 2020, we had a Venus retrograde there, then we had eclipses happening there. So it's been a place of reconsidering what our social connections are. In some ways, I see us on the eve of Jupiter entering Gemini in a year of like, this is where we're really going to have the opportunity to recover from the social impact of the pandemic, right? We may think that we've transcended it completely, but there were fractures that happened. And here's a point of greater connectivity. And one of the things that I'm watching, one of the transits that I'm watching is what's happening on TikTok of like everyone figuring out that they can pay off their debt if they become influencers and people watch their videos, but you have to have 10,000 followers. So this giant follow train happening, right? This is Gemini. This is the kind of the marketplace of the masses. I kind of think of Gemini as the marketplace, right? It's ruled by Mercury. Mercury rules commerce, language, and ideas, and all of those things getting traded around. And the marketplace is this familiar daily place, this kind of archetypal place where people of all walks of life interact and exchange things and debate value and trade ideas. Whereas Sagittarius is more these kind of serious, institutionalized expertise places, right? These places where we go explicitly to learn. When you enter a communal space, let's call it the farmer's market or whatever, the flea market of Sagittarius, you are going to learn a bunch of stuff, right? You're going to learn what other people think the value of things are. You're going to hear gossip. You're going to hear the different ways that people negotiate. You're going to hear about different tastes, right? It is not as curated. And in the same way as like tons of people on TikTok, just like tons of moms following each other so that they can hopefully pay for childcare, right? This is not because they have these core belief systems, these Sagittarian belief systems that are necessarily united. This is because, right, they understand the struggle of the purpose. And we've realized that the higher ups are not helping us, right? Do not have our best interests at heart, right? They want to preserve their power. It's not about sharing, but Jupiter and Gemini is a little bit about sharing and sharing things that maybe, right? Like, not like, oh, someone is going to give you a benefactor is not giving you 10 grand, right? It's like people that watch your video for 5 seconds, not because they even care about what's happening, but because they care about the struggle of being an everyday person, right? Not a perfect solution. This is not like morally clean. This is not going to go well for everyone. This is not going to not get complicated, right? Jupiter and Gemini, right, just because it's providing an abundance of ideas and connections, Jupiter is not necessarily doing the quality control there, right? That's Mercury. Mercury is sorting through the things, not Jupiter. So there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff coming out of it. And if you've followed me for a while, you know that when I talk about Jupiter, I'm always kind of giving big caveats to Jupiter, which is like abundance is not necessarily always good, right? Had a bunch of Jupiter, a bunch of Jupiterian transits. That was the rampant expansion, right? Every time we had a big Jupiter thing, we had a new strain of COVID. That's Jupiter. Jupiter is also a flashlight. It's shining light at this, at things. So, right, we are finding opportunity, we are finding abundance through directing our attention. And this year with Jupiter and Gemini, right, we're going to be paying attention, and it is going to be an overwhelming amount of information. And right, with AI, it is going to be an overwhelming amount of information that may not be true, that may be entirely fake, right? How we are going to sort through this mass of knowledge is going to be so different, right? It is going to be so different. And the skills that we're going to have to develop are going to come later, right? We are entering this new thing. Any planet entering Gemini, so the sun on Monday, Jupiter on the 25th, Venus today on Wednesday, the 23rd, Venus tomorrow, they're first going to come into a trine with Pluto, and Pluto in Aquarius is bringing a whole bunch of very interesting development in technology. And when we've got the sun passing through, right, we're asking questions of power and purpose. When we have Venus, we're asking questions of value, and Jupiter is going to amplify it. And we are going to have this all year that they will be in a sign-based trine. So the election cycle, of course, is going to stimulate a lot of this. But with a mistrust of the media, right, Jupiter and Gemini is offering this much more connective experience in conversations with each other, right? Maybe at the cost of, we don't know what's true, but there's a mistrust in the media where we don't know what's true anyway. We know that certain things have been misreported. So that calls that into question. There is a spotlight and an invitation to examine where media comes from, where ideas come from, who we trust, and how we relate to that. And it's going to be different, and it's going to be interesting to watch. And as we get deeper into the summer and to this year, Saturn in Pisces, sorting through what's real and not real, squaring Jupiter in Gemini, is going to have a lot to say about this. There's going to be two squares of Saturn in Pisces and Jupiter in Gemini, right? And we're probably going to see some efforts to curtail or sort through some more limitations on what we can share, what we can't share, how ideas get expressed. And then their final square happens with Saturn in Aries and Jupiter in Cancer about a year from now. So that is going to be a very, very different feel. I have an announcement to make. This Sagittarius full moon falls in my midheaven in my 11th house, the place of teaching. And I am going to get back into teaching more synchronous online courses. I'm going to do a planetary series. They're going to be 2-hour classes on each planet. You can come to one, you can come to none, you can come to all of them. The first one is going to be on the sun. It's going to be on the place of purpose and also of emptiness. These talks are going to be psychological, spiritual explorations of the archetype of each planet and invitation into an experiential understanding of that planet. You can participate live if the timing works for you. You can also register and receive the recording. Yeah, and you can find all the information for that on my website. And I would just really love to invite you into the space, let you experience what I have for you about the sun, and to hear your stories and to know who is listening and where they're coming from and what their experiences are. I really appreciate having some kind of audience here, and the reflections that I get on my astrology work, which is not in the mainstream, and involves lots of careful tending. And so I am so deeply honored. If you want to participate, I would love to see you. Okay. Happy full moon. Like, follow, share. Make this work sustainable for me. And I will see you next time. Thanks.